brings you in here, sweets?
She looks young and innocent, and that was what fooled them.
Cupcake here's a bounty hunter. Let me introduce you to some of your professional colleagues. This is Master Clive Lee of the White Hot Palm. He has over 200 confirmed kills.
207.
What they didn't know is that she is the last of her kind, the best warriors that have ever lived.
Oh, and then there's me, keeper of the legendary Damascus blade.
I came to ask for your help against our common enemy, Gruishka. So I'm calling on you, my hunter-warrior brothers. Let's band together and defeat him once and for all.
And she shows them exactly why.
You know, normally I wouldn't take a rookie under my wing. If you'll cut loose meat boy over here and let me buy you a drink.
Watch it.
What could I learn from a loudmouth pretty boy who spends all of his money on his face?
Welcome back to Favorite Recap. Happy New Year to you, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel.
You do not deserve such a weapon.
The movie begins 3 centuries after a catastrophic event known as the Fall. Dr. Ito, who is a cybersurgeon, has just discovered a severely damaged cyborg in the junkyard of Iron City. Despite the cyborg's deteriorated condition, Ito notices her brain remains intact and alive. Moved by her potential, he brings her home and works tirelessly to repair her. Eventually, the cyborg awakens days later, and she is both amazed and disoriented by her new form. Slowly, she stands on shaky legs and gazes at her reflection in a mirror, surprised at her reconstructed body. Curiously, she ventures downstairs to observe the people who saved her. There, Ito examines her for malfunctions, but her first words are a simple announcement of hunger. As he helps her peel an orange, she asks if they share a past and if he knows who she is. The realization that she has no memories overwhelms her with sorrow, but Ito soon reassures her that her memories may return with time. Later, Ito takes the cyborg outside. She is awestruck when she sees Zalem, a magnificent city suspended in the sky. When she asks for a name, Ito names her Alita. As they continue to explore Iron City together, Ito explains how people flocked there from all over after the fall, though none are allowed entry into Zalem. During their walk, Alita is captivated by a sports broadcast of Motorball, but Ito dismissed it as unimportant. While Ito steps away to buy food, Alita shares her meal with a stray dog. Then her attention is drawn to a wanted poster for a notorious serial killer, and soon after, a towering police robot, a Centurion, appears. When the Centurion endangers the dog, Alita boldly intervenes to shield it, surprising herself and everyone else with her combat skills. Hugo, a young local, pulls her to safety and warns her to be more careful next time. However, he quickly realizes she is a cyborg, and Ito introduces her as new to the area. As Hugo leaves, Alita watches him with interest, even as Ito insists they move on. That evening, a disturbing attack on a woman unfolds nearby. And later that night, Alita notices Ito returning home with blood on his arm. The next morning, while observing Ito at work, Alita notices his injury. The patient he was working on recounts a dangerous experience with cyborg body part thieves and mentions the serial killer, prompting Ito to caution Alita to stay vigilant. Outside that day, Alita encounters Chirin, a mysterious woman who regards her with peculiar interest. Feeling unsettled, Alita walks away. Then, Chirin confronts Ito, asking why Alita now inhabits their dead daughter's body. She accuses Ito of clinging to the past and suggests they collaborate to create Motorball champions to fund her return to Zalem. Ito rejects the suggestion, telling her that going to Zalem is impossible. Chirin eventually leaves to meet up with Vector, whom she works for. Meanwhile, Alita joins Hugo and his friends for a Motorball game. Despite struggling initially, her determination shines as she scores a point, impressing Hugo, who offers her a ride home. During their journey, they bond, and Hugo shares his dream of reaching Zalem. He then speculates that Alita, who was found in a scrapyard, might have ties to the famous city. That night, Alita notices Ito heading out again and decides to follow him. She sees him trailing a cloaked woman and intervenes just when he prepares to strike. However, they realize too late that it's a trap set by Gruishka, a hulking cyborg, and his allies. A fight soon breaks out, and Ito urges Alita to flee. Instead, she leaps into action, defeating one enemy with her raw strength. Then Nishiana, the second attacker, reveals her cyborg enhancements and charges towards Alita. Meanwhile, Gruishka overpowers Ito, slamming him against a wall to force him to watch the battle. However, Alita showcases her combat prowess, defeating Nishiana with decisive blows. Gruishka then challenges her. During their fight, Alita experiences a flashback of herself in a fierce battle where she is called 9-9. Drawing on her memories, she delivers a powerful axe kick that breaks Gruishka's arm. He immediately retreats, allowing Ito and Alita to leave the scene too. On their way, Ito tells Alita that he is a hunter-warrior as he claims the bounty on Nishiana, explaining that the funds support his clinic, where he provides free repairs to those in need. Alita then asks him about her fragmented memories. Ito confesses that Alita's body once belonged to his late daughter, who was wheelchair-bound. He had built the cyborg body to give her a new life, but a deranged patient tragically murdered her. This loss had shattered Ito, driving Chirin away and compelling him to register as a hunter-warrior in pursuit of justice. Now, with Alita's emergence, Ito sees a new purpose. As Alita grapples with her mysterious past and uncertain identity, Alita begins to understand the depth of Ito's grief and his hope for her to forge her own destiny. Then, Dr. Ito reveals a surprising truth about Alita's body. Her heart is powered by an antimatter microreactor, an ancient technology so advanced it could supply energy to all of Iron City for years. Since the era of the Fall, this kind of technology has ceased to exist, leading Ito to deduce that Alita is over 300 years old. Meanwhile, in Vector's headquarters, he pressures Chirin to continue creating motorball champions for him. Their tense conversation is interrupted when Grushka bursts through the window, severely damaged and desperate for repairs. Though Chirin initially refuses, she reconsiders when Grushka attributes his injuries to Alita. The next day, Chirin examines Grushka and notices he has been modified. Vector is initially indifferent, but his attitude shifts dramatically when Grushka speaks in the voice of Nova, the powerful scientist from Zalem. Through Grushka, Nova talks about Alita's impressive fighting skills, which he attributes to her mastery of Panzerkunst, an advanced combat technique. Upset by this, Nova orders Chirin to rebuild Grushka and then instructs Grushka to bring Alita to him, dead. He further promises Chirin that if she obeys, he will ensure her safe passage to Zalem. In the meantime, Ito and Alita discover that Grushka has been removed from the bounty list, indicating someone powerful is protecting him. So, Alita insists on registering as a hunter-warrior to uncover her past, but Ito forbids her. Revoting, she runs away and meets up with Hugo, joining him to watch a motorball match. Hugo explains that the motorball final champion earns a ticket to Zalem. During the game, a player named Kanuba catches Chirin's attention with his grindcutter's weapon. However, Hugo is called away by his friend Tanji for an urgent business. Later that night, Kanuba is ambushed by masked motorcyclists who manage to incapacitate him with electric shocks. As the attackers load Kanuba into their truck, it's revealed that Hugo and his friends are part of the crew dismantling his body for parts. Vector arrives to praise their work, and he then pays them, instructing them to deliver the components to Chirin. Before leaving, Vector finishes off Kanuba himself, emphasizing how ruthless he can be. The next day, Hugo and his friends take Alita outside Iron City to reveal remnants of the world destroyed by the war. They explain that the United Republic of Mars, URM, waged a catastrophic conflict that destroyed all sky cities except Zalem. Hoping to trigger Alita's memory, they show her a sunken URM warship. Alita immediately recognizes the vessel and dives into the water, navigating its wreckage with ease. Deep inside, she discovers a room containing an unused cyborg body. Instinctively operating the ship's controls, she retrieves the body and brings it to Ito, asking him to transfer her consciousness into it. However, Ito refuses, revealing that Alita is a URM Berserker, one of the most advanced cyborg weapons ever created. Uniting her with the body would make her an unstoppable force, but Ito fears what it might awaken in her. Heartbroken but resolute, Alita leaves the house to find her own path. Still determined, Alita proceeds on her own to register as a hunter-warrior and visits a bar where other bounty hunters hang out. She brings Hugo alongside. There, one of the hunters named Zapan, who is very proud, warns her about competing with them for bounties. Ignoring him, Alita boldly asks the crowd for help in taking down Grushka. However, they mock her request. Then, Zapan attempts to belittle her, but Alita swiftly retaliates, smashing his head against a table when he tries to grab her. The confrontation escalates into a chaotic brawl, with Alita challenging all the hunters in the bar. She declares they must support her cause if she emerges victorious. As the brawl rages on, Ito arrives and puts a stop to the fight after he threatened to stop offering free repairs to the hunters. The room falls silent, but the tension soon returns when Grushka, now fully repaired, storms in. Hugo notices that Grushka has been upgraded with parts from grind cutters, making him even more dangerous. The hunter-warriors hesitate to intervene, knowing Grushka has no bounty on his head. When the stray dog Alita had previously saved growls at Grushka, he cruelly kills it, provoking grief and anger among the onlookers. Despite his affection for dogs, McTeague, one of the hunter-warriors, still refuses to fight. This provoked Alita, as she uses the dog's blood to mark her face as a sign of resistance. Then she confronts Grushka, vowing to take him down. When Grushka attacked with his grind cutters, Alita managed to evade his strikes. However, he tears a hole in the bar floor and goes underground, daring Alita to follow. Alita fearlessly descends into his den, where he reveals that this space was once his home and now serves as the place where he intends to kill her. As the fight intensifies, Alita leaps at him, attempting to dismantle his arm. However, Gruishka's upgrades prove formidable, making him tougher than ever. Gruishka relentlessly attacks Alita with his new weapon, but she manages to dodge his strikes. As they continue, Alita lands a powerful kick, briefly pushing him back, though she sustains a cut on her leg. Undeterred, Gruishka presses on, forcing Alita to take cover behind a pillar. As he taunts her, he reveals that Nova, the one shaping Alita's destiny, had saved him. Upon hearing this, Alita charges at Gruishka, but he viciously cuts her body apart. In this dire moment, Alita recalls a memory of her martial instructor, Gelda, who had warned her that Nova is the true enemy. Drawing strength from this memory, Alita uses her remaining arm to strike, piercing Gruishka's eye. Before he can respond, Ito and Hugo arrive, accompanied by McTeague, who unleashes his cyborg dogs on Gruishka as revenge for the stray dog he killed. Overwhelmed by the attack, Gruishka flees once more. Now badly injured, Ito carries Alita's damaged body away. When Chirin sees them, she mocks him as he accuses him of trying to replace their daughter with Alita. Back in the clinic, and left with no alternative, Ito merges Alita with the URM Berserker body, which adapts to her subconscious self immediately. Upon awakening, Alita thanks Ito and marvels at her new abilities, including generating arc plasma on her fingertip. Although even Ito doesn't fully understand her control over it, he reminds her that the body is just a tool and its ultimate purpose depends on her. Later on, as Alita walks with Hugo, she shows off her newfound capabilities. Meanwhile, Nova, who is now in Vector's body, orders Gruishka to destroy Alita, calling her the last weapon of the URM Technarchy. After leaving his body, Vector was displeased with Nova's control, and he set out to seek alternatives of his own plan. So, Vector invites Hugo for a drink, commending his determination to reach Solemn. Hugo reassures him that he's working hard to earn the 1,000,000 credits needed. But Vector shifts the conversation to Alita and the possibility of getting the needed requirements if he can kill her. The following day, Alita visits Hugo, who confesses that meeting her has made him reconsider leaving for Solemn. However, Alita encourages Hugo to pursue his dream and offers to help him gather the money. She even suggests selling her URM heart, believing they could replace it with something cheaper. Hugo vehemently refuses, unwilling to let her sacrifice herself for him. Instead, he proposes that Alita compete in Motorball to become a champion and win a ticket to Solemn. Later on, as Alita prepares for the game, Ito adds safety measures to her gear, uncertain how to repair URM technology. Unknown to them, Vector has hired hunter warriors to eliminate Alita during the match. Meanwhile, Hugo confronts Tanji, who is stealing parts from another cyborg. Hugo admits he wants to quit their illegal activities, which leads to an argument. When Tanji accuses Hugo of changing because of Alita, Hugo slams him against a wall. Their fight is interrupted by Zapan, who mocks Hugo's criminal past and suggests that Alita might forgive him if he were dead. Hugo responds that he has no bounty on his head, prompting Zapan to kill Tanji's victim and frame Hugo for the murder. When Tanji tries to defend Hugo, Zapan brutally kills him. Hugo responds by setting off fire, which manages to distract Zapan as he escapes. As the Motorball game begins, Ito notices that Alita's opponents are hunter warriors, not regular players. Realizing Vector's trap, Ito warns Alita, but she decides to face them regardless. The game transforms into a deadly battle as Alita skillfully evades attacks and uses the Motorball to take down her opponents. She even beheads one of the players, and it totally thrilled the crowd. In the midst of the chaos, Hugo calls Alita for help. This forces her to leave the arena as the continues to chase after her. Using her combat skills, Alita outmaneuvers her attackers, leading two of them to accidentally kill each other and crushing another into a grinder. Meanwhile, Zapan catches up to Hugo, but Alita arrives just in time to save him. However, she notices Hugo's face on a bounty sign, revealing he's now wanted for murder. Hugo admits to jacking cyborgs for parts, but insists he never killed anyone. Initially heartbroken that he lied to her, Alita still chooses to protect him as she slams Zapan into a wall. When Zapan accuses her of breaking the Hunter Warrior Code, Alita tells him that she is claiming the kill for herself. As she approaches Hugo, Zapan takes the opportunity to stab him. Soon, Centurions arrive to claim the bounty, forcing Alita to flee with Hugo's dying body. Inside the building, Hugo tearfully admits his crimes and explains he wanted to change because of his love for her. That was when Chirin finds the two inside the building. However, she refuses to betray them when Vector calls. Instead, she tells him that they're gone as she tries to buy them more time. Back outside, Alita presents Hugo's head to the Centurions. However, Zapan soon realizes Hugo's head is attached to Alita's body, keeping him alive. When Zapan tries to take Hugo, the Centurions mistake this for theft of bounty, and Alita seizes the opportunity as she grabs Zapan's blade and slices his face. The next day, with Ito's help, Hugo's head is attached to a cyborg body. And Ito explains that the only way to reach Zalem is by becoming a motorball champion, exposing Vector's false promises. When Alita questions how Ito knows this, he reveals he was born in Zalem, but was exiled with his family due to his daughter's illness. Meanwhile, Vector confronts Chirin for letting Alita go, but Chirin defends her actions, saying she's a doctor and a mother, and she also declares her intent to quit their partnership. Even when Vector tempts her with the promise of Zalem, Chirin realizes her desires lie elsewhere. However, as she leaves, her path is blocked by an approaching figure. In the meantime, Alita, who is still determined to end Vector's schemes, storms his office. When the Centurions demand her weapon, she effortlessly slices through them using Zapan's blade. Then, facing Vector, she accuses him of lying to Hugo. However, Vector claims he keeps his promises and unveils Chirin's dismembered body parts. He explains that that is the only way to reach Zalem. Alita, now furious, prepares to confront Vector. However, Grushka suddenly arrives and attacks Alita, leaving her injured. As she struggles, she catches another memory of her past, a battle against Zalem. She recalls her team being wiped out by a barrier on the tube connecting Zalem to Iron City. Hanging on the edge of falling, Gelda had saved her, urging her to complete the mission and destroy Zalem. Drawing strength from this memory, Alita's body regenerates. Grushka strikes again, but Alita swiftly counters, severing his grind cutters and slicing his body in half. As the fight ends, Vector pleads for mercy, but Alita demands to face Nova. Then, speaking through Vector's body, Nova commends Alita for surpassing his expectations and claims he won't stop her, for now. Alita firmly states she doesn't need his permission to live, but Nova warns that others might. Then, he mocks her, mentioning Hugo's location and boasting about his own twisted immortality. Enraged by this, Alita kills Vector's body. Moments later, Ito calls Alita, revealing Hugo is climbing the tube to Zalem. Realizing the danger, Alita races to stop him and eventually finds him on the tube. Hugo insists he has no choice, believing Zalem is his only escape from the bounty on his head. Alita warns him that it's a trap set by Nova. She urged him to stay with her instead. Just as Hugo begins to reconsider, Nova activates the barrier. Unable to respond in time, Hugo is sliced, his cyborg body failing as he falls. Alita tries to save him, and after thanking her for her help, his arm breaks as he falls, leaving Alita in utter despair. As the movie ends, we see that months later, Alita is a motorball champion who is now poised for a chance to reach Zalem. Yet, as she steps into the arena, her grief lingers and her gaze fixed upward, where Nova watches her every move. I hope you enjoyed the recap. Please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. Thanks for watching.